Hey everybody, Anjelica Trinone here and Ryan Decker for this week's WVU game preview. WVU welcoming in number 24 Texas Tech this weekend for a noon kickoff. Going to be a lot of fun. It's Stripe the Stadium. It's the homecoming game, and Coach Holgerson had told us on Tuesday that they're going to have some of the kids from the Children's Hospital there watching as well. So certainly going to be a great atmosphere and, of course, a great matchup. But before we get into the Red Raiders, let's first take a quick look back at the disappointing loss at TCU for WVU. Now, in a game to where, field possession, a couple turnovers, and some self-inflicted wounds, kind of reminiscent of that first game against Virginia Tech, that first loss, even ended in the same score, 31-24. So what were some takeaways that you saw from that on Saturday in Fort Worth?
You touched on one of them, the time of possession battle and the field position. TCU won the field position battle, but WVU finally was able to win time of possession. That was, to me, a big key going into that game. You had to keep the ball in your hands if you're West Virginia and get it out of TCU's hands because they just like to grind out the clock. That was one positive takeaway. Another one was, with the field position being what it was, WVU's offense did show the ability to work out some tough spots, especially when you get placed down inside your 10-yard line 4 times in the first half. That's tough to do. But you mentioned the self-inflicted wounds. That was the biggest takeaway, especially on special teams. Yeah,
and just going back to what we were talking about, the WVU offense, on Tuesday, again, and at Coach Holgerson's press conference, he had said, the backup receivers are still not where he wanted them to be by August 1st. So we had saw, 4 guys getting the majority of the touches. We've got David Sills, Karan White, and Gary Jennings. Mostly that trio there has already put up a combined 1,300 yards, just a little over that, and 13 touchdowns. And, of course, you added Marcus Sims as well. So, again, 3 to 4 guys for Will Grier to throw to. As we get deeper into the season, you got to think things may start to look a little different if these backups can't come in and contribute.
Yeah, you thought at this point that maybe we'd see a little bit more out of Reggie Roberson. That was a guy that Jake Spavital mentioned after Dana talked on Tuesday. Then you thought maybe a little bit more out of the running backs like Kennedy McCoy and Tevin Bush, that we're going to be featured a little bit more in the passing game. And maybe I keep looking out for Elijah Wellman if he's going to get a pass and kind of be an Owen Schmidt type player, possibly, in this offense, a bigger guy that can catch the ball, and he's going to be very tough to bring down. So you got to think at some point guys like that and some others that we haven't mentioned are going to get involved out of necessity.
Yeah, so we'll keep our eye on that. But, yeah, like you said, Reggie Roberson, we saw him go in a couple times. I believe he caught a touchdown pass against Delaware State. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so hopefully, those guys will be ready to come in and contribute as we're getting deeper into the season here, because that's a lot of work for 4 guys. I know David Sills right now leading the nation with touchdown receptions, but it's been a handful of games, and we've got 8 straight weeks left of this grind here. So we will definitely see what the backups can do and how they can impress the coaches over the course here of the next couple weeks. So let's get into this weekend's matchup. We've got Texas Tech just slid right in there to the top 25 as West Virginia fell out. So like we said, going to be another great matchup for both teams as things are really, heating up in the conference race with the way that things have been shaking out. So Texas Tech comes in, has got the leading offense in the Big 12 with total scoring and total offense. So this year it seems, though, going back last year, of course, Patrick Mahomes not there. He's in the NFL now. But this year it seems that things are more balanced with Texas Tech, and they're not really relying so much on the passing game.
Yeah, it's definitely a more balanced offense. They're running a little bit more. Still only, I think, 8th in the conference in rushing yardage. WVU's second best in the conference in that regard. So not running it as well as WVU does, but they have definitely made strides running the ball, but they still throw it all over the place. You look at WVU, only 5 receivers on WVU have at least 5 catches. Texas Tech has 5 receivers with at least double-digit catches. That's the difference in the 2 offenses right there.
Yeah, and also, if you look back to last game, I believe, against Kansas in the Texas Tech win there, they rushed for 313 yards, but if you go back to last year's game against WVU, only rushed for 34. So, definitely a big difference there. I know that's just one game, but you can see how things have changed in that aspect. So now that they are running the ball a little bit more, and even Coach Holgerson said that, it's tremendously, an improvement running the ball from what they were last season. How do you see that being a factor for this WVU defense that hasn't been entirely great at stopping the run thus far?
It's going to be tough because you got to think, as much as Texas Tech likes to spread the ball around with all those receivers they have, and you've got to kind of account for the run a little bit too. It was really great to see David Long out there last week. You get a game under his belt, and now he's ready to do a little bit of everything. It's going to be a big game for Kaiser White. I think you're going to see him everywhere, and it all starts up front. That's the biggest thing. And Coach Holgerson's talked about that. You got to get more production out of your defensive line. That's kind of where things start, I think.
Yeah, let's go back to David Long. What do you think that it was that he brought to this defense last week? Him being back, of course, all the injured players were back as well, but him returning, it just seems like they had almost played with a different energy having him back out there on the field.
It's kind of nice because Kaiser White all year long has been that guy that's all over the field. You see him in the secondary sometimes, you see him in the backfield sometimes, and everywhere in between. David Long was like another guy just on the opposite side of the field. So when you have two guys like that, it definitely adds another element to this defense and makes it a little bit more versatile, probably shores things up a little bit.
Yeah, so let's take a look now. Texas Tech defensively allowing 27.8 points and 437.4 yards per game. Now, those numbers are up from last season. This is a defense that really has kind of been a work in progress, but is coming, starting to shine this year. What do you think? I know their linebackers are a big part of it as well. They're really great linebackers. How do you see this defense matching up against what Will Greer and those receivers have been able to do thus far?
I think it's going to go one way or the other, and we'll know early on because Jake Spavital said on Tuesday that TCU likes to do a lot of one-on-one coverages with the wide receivers. So when you've got guys like David Sills, who's 6'4", Gary Jennings, who's taller, Marcus Sims, who's taller, and Karan White can obviously jump out of the building. Those one-on-one matchups can be taken advantage of if you're West Virginia, but if those corners and those safeties are up to the task, then it becomes difficult because you've only got a couple guys in coverage instead of the entire Texas Tech team. But at the end of the day, Texas Tech's still not that great of a passing defense. They're much better at stopping the run than the pass.
Yeah, and a couple days ago, Cliff Kingsbury, the Texas Tech head coach, had said that it's just something about West Virginia. It's always been able to get the best of the Red Raiders. So we saw what they were able to do, come away with a big win in Lubbock last season. So West Virginia certainly looked to keep that win streak going over Texas Tech this weekend as they welcome them into Milan Puskar Stadium. So like I said earlier, going to be a great atmosphere. It's the homecoming game. It's the Stripe the Stadium game. A noon kickoff. We'll have the kids from Children's Hospital there. So shaping up to be a really great environment. And we know, this WVU team, it plays different when it's in Morgantown. So we will see how that can come into factor this weekend as well. So we hope that you will join us this weekend for a brand new episode of the Dana Holgerson Show. We'll have much more on that matchup, and you can hear the thoughts from the head coach himself coming up on the program. And also join us for Mountaineer game day. That'll be 10 to noon leading right up to kickoff. So we hope that you will check your local listings and tune in. And, of course, we hope that you will continue to join us here next week as well as we get you for West Virginia's next matchup. But, of course, we will worry about that next week. So, Ryan, thanks again for joining us. Thank you to all of you for joining us. For Ryan Decker, I'm Anjelica Trinone, and we'll see you next week.